I'm about to show you 7 pro tips that I've learned over the last 5 years spending over $50 million on Facebook ads. After this video, you will be able to scale up your Facebook ads, you're going to understand the algorithm, and you know what you should not do with your Facebook ads. So I would say let's get right into it. And the first tip is leveraging broad. What do I mean by this? You know, when I first started out in 2017, 2018, doing dropshipping, doing my first kind of Facebook ads, audiences were the key to success. You know, I would do a lot of niche testing using audiences like engaged shoppers, for example, but these times are over. Nowadays, you don't need any targeting at all. Your targeting happens on the ad level and not at the ad set level anymore. So what I mean by this is basically that your creative does your targeting. If you, for example, have an ad where there's a woman and an ad where there's a man, the ad with the men is going to reach more men and the ad with the women is going to reach more women. And that's why it's so important to go broad. You know, don't do these audience tests anymore. They are just a waste of money. I want you to go no targeting anymore and see how your creative adapts to the audience and see how the results are going to be stable. They're going to improve over time compared to, you know, using audiences or even doing audience testing. So tip number 2 or tip number 3, however you want to see it, is, you know, forget retargeting. The days of doing retargeting are over. All you do is when you do retargeting is you're stealing impressions from broad. So let's imagine this broad approach. You have one, you know, ad set, and that is your whole audience. And there's again no targeting. We talked about this in the point number 2. And if you just exclude people, you know, last 30-day purchasers, for example, you're going to see at the ad level that some ads have a higher frequency, whereas some ads have a lower frequency. And the ones with the higher frequency tend to have a higher CPM. And what this tells me is these ads are doing retargeting on their own. Now, if you look at the frequency day by day, you want to break it down per day, then you can see it's, you know, close to maybe 1.2, 1.1, 1.3. And this is basically doing retargeting for you in your broad audience. So if you now run a retargeting campaign, all you do is you steal those impressions from your basically top of the funnel, full funnel campaign, however you want to call it. And your top of the funnel campaign is going to decrease in efficiency and your retargeting campaign has to make up for it. So this is why I want to forget you to do retargeting in 2023. If you want to have a more in-depth explanation about that, I have a video linked right here that goes really into the nitty-gritty when it comes to retargeting and why you should not do it anymore. But the short lesson in it is basically stop doing retargeting, especially if you're spending less than 5, 6, 7K a day, ignore it completely. Point number 4 is creative is your leverage. You know, we talked about not doing audience testing anymore. We talked about not running retargeting campaigns anymore. So where you can really shine, you know, what differentiates the ads or the brands that are winning from the ones that aren't is simply the creative. Put a high emphasis and a high focus on creative testing, and don't just randomly throw up, you know, different ads, different concepts on there without any clear plan. I want you to plan your creative tests. I want you to track your creative tests. And I want you to obviously, you know, take notes, take hypotheses, and test with purpose and intent. You know, there should be a goal behind every creative test. You know, there's usually 2 main goals, and the first one is to find a new concept that's winning, and the second one is to improve an already winning ad. If you want to learn more about creative testing, how we approach that, I have a video linked right here as well. Then tip number 5 is stop doing so many day-to-day changes. Now, how I approach changes is basically every change is too much. I try to do as few changes as possible and just basically interfere if there's something really wrong going on with the Facebook ads that, you know, I'm running for a client. So I usually go in every morning, I check the results from like the last 3 days, the last 7 days, and then yesterday's performance. And if they're all kind of, you know, going up, I would just increase the budget. And obviously if there's something going down, if it's fluctuating, you know, maybe pull back the spend a little bit or just keep it even. And how I approach creative tests is I usually launch them, you know, in the morning, and then that's it. Even if throughout the day the ads are not performing, you know, the results aren't that great, I usually don't do any changes because that just interferes with the algorithm and it gets me basically worse performance over the next couple of days. Because if I do change throughout the day, the algorithm has to adapt, and that's going to, you know, play out over the next day, over the next 2 days maybe, until I get stability again. Because again, the number one key, or I don't know if I've mentioned that, the number one key that you want with your Facebook ads is stability and obviously growth. So that's tip number 5. Tip number 6 is a focus on the wrong metric. I learned this, you know, super early on in my career. You know, managed over 50 million, for 7-figure brands, 8-figure brands. I started as a Fiverr freelancer, but this tip really stuck with me. I heard people all the way talking about my CPC is too high. What can I do about it? My CPMs are too high. What can I do about that? How can I, increase my watch time? Those are things which people talk about, but they forget the key part, and that is the only real metric that matters is your CPA. Obviously, for example, if you talk about hook rate and average watch time and outbound CTR, they all have to do something. If you improve them, there's a high chance that your CPA improves as well. But on the same level, I don't want you to put all of your focus on your hook rate. I've had ads where the hook rate was like 70%, but nobody ended up buying because the ad was, a little bit too clickbait. There was no congruency between the ad and the landing page. There could be tons of things why your hook rate is good, but your CPA isn't. And number one goal should be to get a good CPA so that you can scale up. Obviously, you can look into the secondary metrics, but especially what does not matter is your CPC and your CPM. If you tend to look at your CPCs, you will never ever crush Facebook ads. So I want you to forget those metrics and look at your CPA, at your North Star metric, and analyze all of the ads they're currently performing. Are they all, look at the CPA. Is the ad that has the best CPA the one with the highest stop rate and the one with the highest average watch time? In most cases, it isn't. Usually ads that are good at converting don't tend to have the highest, hook rates or average watch times, for example. If it's, the case for you, great. But if you don't have a great hook rate and your ad is performing, forget about it. Keep it running, scale it up as long as the CPA is there. Then the last tip that I want to go over today is, one which you really have to engrave in your brain, and it might sound, counteractive, but it's basically your success comes from outside of Facebook. If you're just relying on Facebook ads to perform and to give you the success for your brand, you're in the completely wrong field, basically. Your brand is not a brand. Focus on all of the other metrics. Customer success rate, getting enough 5-star reviews, and making people happy, giving them a valuable product that they genuinely enjoy. Have a great offer, have a great landing page, have a great LTV, have great margins. All of these things come from outside of Facebook. I see Facebook as a kind of aggregator to growth, and not as a, Facebook is not designed to be the all-in-one platform for your e-com growth, right? That should never be the case. Obviously, there's cases where Facebook really is crushing it, and you can scale up to 15K per day pretty easily. But if you don't have a solid foundation, that's never ever going to last. And it's also not what Facebook is designed for. It's basically getting in potentially new customers at a very good rate, to sustain a little bit of growth, not even a little bit, massive growth for your e-com brand. But even if Facebook ads, even if you get banned from Facebook ads, you should still be able to grow your brand. That's what I'm basically trying to say. Leverage Facebook, but also use it with caution and build a solid foundation for your e-com brand. And those were the 7 tips that I learned over the last 5 years, basically, of managing Facebook ads, spending over $50 million probably for 7-8-figure brands. And if you're interested in kind of getting a creative that can spend $100,000 plus profitably, because that's what we do, then you can book a call right down in the description and get started with that. I hope you enjoyed those tips. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to stay up to date with Facebook ads, if you want to learn more valuable content, because I try to make this as valuable as possible to you, then please leave a like and subscribe. And I really, really hope you enjoyed this content. Thank you so much for watching it. Bye.